a couple of your Facebook posts were kind of funny.
Okay.
So here's one of your Facebook posts.
Okay.
It says, shopping for clothing is so complicated when you're 90% muscle.
Mm-hmm.
Have you learned like kind of a strategy to shop for clothes?
Sheila Forjuoh is an IFBB Pro and an attorney. She allowed me to talk to her about many things, including fitness, Ronda Rousey, Black Lives Matter movement, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, and more. Here's what she said.
Give us your education credentials.
My education credentials. Okay, so I graduated from Washington University in St. Louis in 2009 with a double major in marketing and entrepreneurship and a bunch of minors that no one needs to know about. After that, I went straight to law school. Halfway through my first year, I decided to apply for the MBA program. And so I ended up graduating with both my JD and my MBA and graduating a semester early. So I got those both done in 3.5 years, and then was lucky enough to get great jobs at some of the top law firms in Houston. So I worked in capital markets for about 2.5 years, and I recently made the switch to private wealth management. So it's been a lot of school, a lot of learning, but I'm very happy with where my career has progressed. I've gained a lot of knowledge, both technical and non-technical, that I use like all the time. I won't lie, like I do crazy things, like I plan out all my like workouts in Excel, and it's nerdy, but it works for me. Yeah.
When you're not in the gym, you're not working. Any things you'd like to? Any other things you like to do? Yeah.
I read a lot, and I have a great group of friends in town. So there are a lot of like IFBB pros, and we've all just become like really, really close. And so we hang out at least, a couple of times a week, and I work out with them pretty much all the time. So hang out with my friend's a big one. I have a dog, and I hang out with her a lot. She's really cute. I have a 10-pound Shih Tzu named Violet. I post her pictures on Instagram all the time, so if anyone follows me, you'll see her a lot. I volunteer when I can. I volunteer at a local no-kill animal shelter in town, and then I sometimes volunteer at my local library. Other than that, lots of Netflix. I am a 20-something-year-old millennial, so Netflix is a big part of my life. And I'm obsessed with the Marvel universe. So anything Marvel related, I am pretty much caught up on that, and I'm happy to have a nerdy discussion with anyone at any time about anything superhero-ish.
When you're working out in the gym, what's going through your mind? You're just focused on the workout, or something motivating you? Or?
So it's interesting. Now, at the place that I am now, the hardest part about my workouts is I don't have any area that I need to grow. I'm already, I think, pretty much on the cusp of figure and physique, as many people have pointed out. So it's kind of been, at the beginning it was a little rough, because I was like, I'm used to working out hard. I'm like, well, I really don't need to get bigger in a lot of areas. So now I kind of just work out for fun and for conditioning and symmetry, which works because I think the IFBB has made it known that that's what they're looking for more than size. So I'm happy because that was kind of how the area that I was going in. I don't pre-plan my workouts. I do know my splits. I kind of rotate them. So I work out legs, shoulders, and back, and that's basically it. Sometimes I'll throw in arms like once a month, but my arms grow really easily, so I can't do those very consistently. So I get into the gym, I know what body part I'm working out, and I kind of just go from there pretty intuitively, and it works for me. I usually throw in some conditioning type stuff. I'll do kettlebell stuff, I'll do battle ropes. I used to do a bunch of like jumping, like jump squats and all that things, but ever since I hurt my back, I'm not allowed to jump technically. I'll still kind of throw it in every once in a while. But other than that, there's not a lot of structure to my workouts, and I think that makes it more interesting for me. But when I do get close to shows and I don't have the energy to come up with a workout on my own, my coach will actually send me workouts because he is a trainer. He's a certified trainer out at World Gym in San Diego. So when I am in that place where I just, mentally, there's only so much I can focus on, I do rely on him to kind of take over my training remotely.
So you had surgery on your back, is that what happened?
I did not have surgery on my back, but I have been suffering from really bad back pain for a few years now. And it took a while, but we finally figured out that I have severe disc degeneration in my lower lumbar, and I have an SI joint dysfunction. So basically, you know, in your spinal cord, you have the disc that goes between your vertebrae. Mine is almost worn down, where they're almost hitting, the bones almost hitting each other. And there's really no way to fix that other than back surgery. And once you do that, you basically can't do anything physical. It's just, or so I've been told. So right now we're just trying to manage it and make sure it doesn't get worse. And maybe down the line there will be new advances. I know they're doing something with stem cell right now that might help regenerate some of your discs, but it's just managing the pain, and it flares up off and on. So I know when to back off and when I can go harder. But that's a lot of reason why I don't do squats that often. I don't deadlift. Like I said, I don't jump. I don't run for the most part anymore. But you know, what can you do? At least I can walk and still compete. So I'm not complaining about it, but it did suck when I heard about that.
Do you still feel the pain in your back?
Yeah. But like I said, I know when to stop. Before we figured out what was going on, you know, I keep going and just think that it'd go away. And there were points where I missed a week of work because I couldn't move, couldn't get out of bed. So now it's okay, if I feel it starting to act up, I back off, I sit, do some real rehab work. But you know, and sometimes if I'm feeling great, I will do a little a run for a little bit. Or last weekend I posted I did some squats for the first time in a long time. But you know, now after doing that, I've been feeling a tightness in my back, so I've been taking it a little bit easy. So it's just being aware and really listening to your body, and it's helped me manage it a lot.
Talk about a little bit about playing tennis.
Playing tennis. The funny thing is I actually don't like tennis that much. My dad is obsessed with tennis, and you know, I'm a good daughter, so, and I was good at it. I tend to be good at sports and athletic endeavors when I put my mind to it. So I started playing when I was 7, played through high school, was captain of my varsity team, you know, my junior and senior year. I never wanted to play super competitively. I was more interested in other sports. I ran track for a while, and then I was on the dance team in high school and in college. So playing super competitively would not have allowed any outside time to do other sports. But I really enjoyed it. You know, it helped me physically, as you can tell. I think that's where when people ask how do I get arms like yours, I'm well, if you know, hit a ball for 12 years, you do develop some muscle.
Is that how Serena did it?
I mean, look at her. I don't think she's worrying too much about doing bicep curls all day. But yeah, you know, it taught me discipline. It got me in the gym really early. Because I started doing that so early, I've never, you know, the reason why I picked up competing was because I finished school, started working, and didn't have anything. For the first time in my life, I wasn't on a team doing something. I wasn't training. That's when my back pain started. So I couldn't, before that I was oh, maybe I'll become a long distance runner. I was training for half marathons. Well, then my back screwed that over. So I was what am I gonna do? And people had always been asking me if I'd be interested in competing. And so one day I was okay, let's give it a shot and see what happens. But it definitely, you know, tennis was the thing that helped me kind of get where I am in life, because it does teach you a lot of discipline when you're a kid and you're super heavily involved in the sport. So
It is a little bit unusual to become an IFBB Pro so quickly, isn't it?
Yes. And people like to tell me that all the time, but like I said, I didn't wake up one day never having been in a gym and decide that I want to be a competitor. So I started in a different place from where a lot of people start when they want to compete. My first show was the Phil Heath Classic in 2014. That was in mid-March. January 1st was the day I started prep, and I had 9 weeks to basically diet down. There wasn't really, I didn't have to put on muscle, I already had the muscle. And they dieted me down, and I walked into my first posing class with Greg, the owner of One to One, who at the time was the head NPC judge, and he looked at me, he's like, "You look like you're a pro already." I was like, "Oh, I don't know what a pro looks like because I've never seen one in person, but okay, teach me how to pose because I have no idea what I'm doing." But then, I won my class at the Phil, went to USA's, got my pro card, and it definitely doesn't normally happen that way, but like I said, I didn't start from scratch. I know I started in a really good place, and so I think a lot of the reason why it takes some time is because a lot of times when people will start competing at fitness shows, it's the first time that they're starting in the gym. And if you look at that, I've been prepping for 12 years or longer than that.
You play tennis, but you also play some rugby too?
Yeah, I decided to pick up rugby in college. My parents weren't happy about that.
It's like football, right?
It's basically football without any padding. And I come from a family of medical professionals, so their first thought was, "Oh my goodness, the insurance is going to go up." Because rugby is a rough sport, even for women. And I'm not that big of a person. I think in the last year, I'm about 10 pounds heavier than I was 2 years ago when I started competing. But so when I was playing rugby, I was 5'3" and 125 pounds. And some of the women are much bigger than that. My advantage was I was really fast, and I was pretty strong for my size. So it was really fun. I loved playing rugby. I don't know what that says about me, but I really loved tackling people, and I liked the camaraderie that goes with it. And there's nothing more fun than a rugby party after a big tournament. But it was also interesting because at the same time, I finally decided to start taking ballet classes, and so I was in college, and I'd show up to ballet class with bruises all over my face, and my ballet instructor's like, "What are you doing?" on the side. But it was kind of, it's very illustrative of my life. I'm kind of all over the place, but I like to try new things, and it makes life a lot more interesting.
Another sport that's in the spotlight right now is UFC.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of Ronda Rousey and what she's doing for female sports and stuff like that?
I think she's a badass. I think any female at this point kind of agrees with that. She's a great role model for being yourself and not trying to fit some sexy fitness mold that a lot of times people want to thrust upon you. Even with her Sports Illustrated cover, she's doing something more sexy, but she's still herself, and it's not downplaying her athleticism. I don't think she's the only one. I don't think she's the first. You mentioned Serena Williams. She's been doing it for years, but I think that she's lucky that she's in a sport that's really big right now, and it's really big amongst men predominantly and women, and it doesn't involve the objectification of women. To be honest, one of my biggest concerns with being in the competing industry is that a lot of the promotions you see, a lot of people you work with, it ends up go on Instagram, a lot of the fitness accounts are just people posing in their underwear, and I don't understand how this is. I don't want to knock anyone. Anyone who's working on their body, I think should be applauded, but I think at some point we're kind of losing women who are serious about the industry and serious about being a fitness professional are losing their focus in the search of, I don't know, your 15 seconds of fame or whatnot. So But that's why I respect Rhonda a lot, because she became well known and like, you know, without having to get naked and take a butt picture in front of a mirror.
Talk about where you were born, and I thought that was really interesting.
Okay, I was born in Ghana, which for people who don't know is a West African country. It's right by Nigeria. Moved here when I was 3, so I've been, you know, I'm basically American, as my parents like to tell me. But you know, I go back every few years. It's a really expensive trip, as you can imagine. So, and when I usually go back, it's for, you know, 3 or 4 weeks at a time. So it's not something you can do super frequently. But it's nice to come from a different background, because I think especially being African American in the U.S., it kind of helps you put a different perspective on a lot of issues that happen. Because I still see myself as African. I don't share the same heritage as African Americans in the U.S. who have that long history of being in the U.S. And so I feel like I'm a little bit removed from it, but I'm obviously still experiencing the same issues that a lot of people go through in the present. So it's been really like fascinating, especially in the last couple of years with all the stuff that's going on. But yeah, I don't know.
What are your thoughts on like Ferguson? What happened there?
I mean, it's hard because you never have the whole story. I definitely have my take on it, and especially since, you know, I went to school in St. Louis. I lived very close to where Ferguson happened. I understand exactly how segregated that city is. You literally cross a street and you're and WashU is in the most like high wealth part of St. Louis, you know, and it's one of the top schools in the country with a very high endowment. So if you're on that campus, you're having a very much different experience of what's going on. And so, you know, it was a rough situation, and it did hit really close to home because I lived right by there. And I have a lot of friends actually who have become very, very, very involved in the Black Lives Matter movement. Even my school, WashU, has become involved in its own way. And so, you know, but I still think, I don't want to categorically say like, oh, this person was bad, or that, you know, like I think I have my take on it, but it's based on my life experiences and the facts that I've been given, and that doesn't mean that it's 100% correct, but I do think that there's a lot of work to do politically and socially, because statistically speaking, there's something going on. But how to solve it is a different issue, and multiple issues intertwined. So, and that was a very lawyerly answer.
You want to do a little politics?
Okay.
Election year, you know, Barack Obama's last year. How's he done the last 7 years?
So my take on Barack Obama, I think he's done well. However, I was not particularly impressed with his first term. And it's kind of my standing problem with one of my standing problems with our political system. I think the fact that you can get reelected makes your first term very kind of weird, because you don't want to piss off anyone. You want to get reelected. And so if you look at Obama, like in the last 2 years, he's become he's a different president than he was before. He's just getting stuff done now. He's not trying to like antagonize anyone, but he's definitely not being as deferential as he was his first term. So I like second term Barack Obama better than the first term Barack Obama, but overall I think he's done pretty well in his presidency, especially considering the number of issues that have come up while he's been in office. And it's gonna be either really sad or really interesting to see who follows him with the way this election is going right now.
Have you decided on a vote yet?
I have decided on a vote. I voted yesterday in our primary. I'm very excited that I got the chance to do that. You know, I'm not Republican, so right away it narrows my choices. I have been, you know, following this election year very closely because me and my lawyer friends, that's what we do, and it's been eye-opening. And I can't say I'm surprised at what's happening, Because for years I've been saying, like, our media and the way that it works, it hasn't done the American public any justice. And I think it's kind of funny to see them get a taste of their own medicine when someone else takes control and just puts out the message that they want to get the attention that they want. And so hopefully, Donald Trump will help cause some rethinking of how politics and news media runs, but I'm hoping that come November a different result happens. I will say I'm not a Trump fan, as no one would be surprised at. So, but I'm keeping my vote to myself amongst the two Democratic candidates right now.
Okay, cool. Thanks for talking with me. Because you're an attorney, and that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I can. The difference, it's the difference between having someone in office who will get some stuff done, but like Hillary will get stuff done, but she's also pretty moderate, and she already has ties. You don't know what concessions she's made in the years that she's been around. It's also a different dynamic having the fact that her spouse has also been president. Like, they're not coming in on a clean slate. On the other hand, you have Bernie, who is just very much like that grumpy teacher that everyone had in high school, and you're sitting there wondering, yeah, he's got great ideas, but like, I don't know how he's gonna do speaking, with the stuff that's happening in Syria. Like, you can't go in there and like lecture people into getting anything done. So it's not I don't think we have a perfect candidate anywhere, but it's kind of just wondering like which issues are more important to each individual person and voting on that route. 'Cause I think they both have their strong suit, and who knows, maybe they'll run on the same ticket in the end. But yeah, that's why it's kind of hard to make a decision this year.
Yeah. A couple of your Facebook posts were kind of funny.
Okay.
So here's one of your Facebook posts.
Okay.
It says, shopping for clothing is so complicated when you're 90% muscle.
Mm-hmm.
Have you learned like kind of a strategy to shop for clothes?
You just have to get it tailored. Actually, my strategy is I buy stretchy things and so for work, I basically live in like sweaters, because sweaters are easy, they're roomy, they don't have to be tight, and then I wear skirts because they kind of fit your legs no matter what season you're in, or stretchy work pants. And if you walk into my closet, I only wear like 4 colors to work, and everything kind of matches with each other because I wake up in the morning, go to the gym, and then come home, like don't want to deal with matching. So it's like black, tan, red, and like navy blue, My friends will say I don't really have a lot of going out clothes. One, because I don't really go out anymore, and two, because it's just that's where it becomes difficult when you're like trying to buy a dress, and my waist and my shoulders are 2 completely different sizes. No, there's not really a strategy other than get things tailored and buy stretchy material, but it is really. I know it can like bring a lot of people down. I'm not gonna lie, I've cried in dressing rooms before trying to find clothes that fit. And I know pretty much every female I know who's competed has had that issue, because the bodies that they make clothing for and the bodies of women who are athletic are 2 completely different things. But you gotta work with what you have, or you live in leggings like I do most of the time, so.
This was, you said this in another interview that you did. The best feeling is going into a gym and lifting more than the guy next to you. Is that like your competitive spirit coming out?
It's not competitive as much as one. So there's 2. The guys who just automatically assume that like you don't know what you're doing or can't lift that weight. I'm just like, I've probably been doing this longer than you, like, so showing that off. And then also it's like the guys who judge you because you have muscle, and they're like, oh, that's not feminine or whatever, and it's like, okay, well, I'm still stronger than you, so what does that say about you? But it's not really competitive, actually. And it's funny because I work out with a lot of guys because most of my female friends just aren't at the level of lifting that I am. And it's never been a problem with the guys that I work out with. Like, they don't care. You know, they're just like, hey, you're just another person that lifts weights. Like, if we're using the same plates, it doesn't matter. So in the last year, I haven't really run into a lot of issues at the gym with people, but I'm also lucky that I work at this gym and everyone's pretty cool and everyone kind of knows each other. But going to other places, it can get kind of funny, and it's just not, every once in a while it's like nice to just like roll in and show them up and be like, I don't care what you think, I'm stronger than you, get over it. But, yeah.
That's cool. I always ask at the end, do you want to add anything else? And you don't have to, but just throw that out there.
I'm trying to think. Well, I guess the one thing I want to add, because competing has become so popular, is I really, really want to stress to anyone who is starting to compete or has even been doing it for a while to make sure to research whoever their research coach is like very well before signing up with someone. There's been a large number of coaches popping up all over the place who have no credentials. If someone doesn't even have a personal training certification, like, I don't understand how they can say that I mean, I would expect someone to have a nutrition certification, but that's usually less common than at the very least having a personal training certification. But you know, a lot of people do one show and all of a sudden they're a competition coach. And you can really, really mess someone up. I have a lot of friends who have like significant metabolic damage from the diets that they get put on. I had one friend who is about, I don't know, like 6 inches taller than me, and they're in corresponding weight up, and she was on like a 1,400 calorie diet for like 6 months. Like, that's ridiculous. No one can live on that. I couldn't live on that, and I'm shorter and way less than her. And so it's just definitely be careful. I think at the very least, one of the things, if they, you know, look for a certification, look at their track record, talk to people that they have coached before, preferably for multiple shows, not just one time. And if go through their Instagram, you'll notice, I follow a lot of people, and you'll notice that they lose athletes pretty easily. They don't advertise it, but all of a sudden you realize, like, they do one show with people, and then they, like, if someone can't keep an athlete on, there's probably a reason why, if it keeps happening. And when all else fails, just go with one of the big coaching teams. I mean, at least they have some track record. It's safer than working with some individual that you just ran across because they did one show and happened to win. Like, I don't coach people because I have no idea what I would do with someone else. I know I know what works for me, but that doesn't make me qualified to start taking over someone else's health, you know. So that's the one thing I want to add, because I really think that that's becoming a bit of a problem. Yeah.
That's cool. This was fun.
Yeah.
Really fun. It's different with you.
Really?
Yeah, because there's a lot of different subjects that you can, because with the attorney thing, you can go into other things.
I know.
And then I like, you know, the whole Black Power thing. That was cool. I think that's it.
Yeah, those are great questions.